Recording in progress.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for attending. This is the Wednesday, August 20th, 2025 Planning Board meeting. I officially call the meeting to order. We'll start with the approval of the minutes from the July meeting. Did we have any comments, corrections?
I think we accept the July 16th minutes as amended.
I second. All in favor? All right, let's just get straight to it. Old business, we have Brady's application, Mr. Brady's application for the mobile home park. What I was thinking about on this is to do a couple of things. One, we need to determine whether or not the application is complete. We're all aware that there are some missing items. And it's, I think, enough of a problem that we probably won't get to the point where we're going to say that it's complete tonight. And we also have to deal with the waiver issue. And if we vote against that, then we would obviously need to see that as part of the application. But I do want to make sure as we kind of walk through the list that answer any questions that you might have and give you a chance to comment on anything that we want to go over. So I think probably it makes the most sense to just get straight to the waiver, because this is kind of this is the biggest, to me, this is the biggest missing, potentially biggest missing piece that we have. North Star isn't too concerned about some of the other pieces. We definitely need to see those things, but we need to get through the waiver first. So Shane, if you want to just go ahead and come up to the mic and let us know what you're requesting and why you're requesting it.
I'm Shane. I'm requesting the waiver because in the state statutes that describe the rules on mobile home parks, it says, I should probably start with what the waiver says.
Yeah, just go ahead and if you want to just read the waiver.
Yeah.
So we can have it for the record, that would be great.
So this waiver is to not require visual screening in the buffer strips. The board has asked for a landscape plan that reflects compliance with section 807B 1-3 or 123. While this is in the site plan review process, it conflicts with the mobile home park ordinance. The town of Pownell has never requested that a minor subdivision have visual screening and or buffers. And then I've attached a section of the mobile home state statutes that say a municipality may require buffer strips not to exceed 50 feet, including individual lot setbacks along any mobile home park boundary which abuts land used for residential use. If the per acre density of a mobile home within the mobile home park is at least 2 times greater than the density of a residential development on immediate adjacent parcels of land, or if the immediate adjacent parcels of land are undeveloped, the maximum net residential density permitted by applicable municipal ordinances or state law. And then it just says no structures, streets, or utilities may be placed in the buffer strip, except their utilities may cross the buffer strip to provide service to the mobile home park. Municipalities may impose reasonable natural screening requirements within the first 25 feet of the buffer strip as measured from the exterior boundary of the mobile home park if the requirements are no greater than those of other residential developments. And my understanding of that is I don't think Pownell has ever required a visual screening for any residential development. I know they have for site plan review, like the power station, the natural gas station, I think it is, and then the new greenhouses, but those aren't residential.
Okay, that's fair. Does anybody have any comments on that? Sadie?
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that though that's not in the other ordinances, buffer strips are explicitly in the mobile home ordinance in Pownell. And the state ordinance actually says that a municipality may require buffer strips not to exceed 50 feet. The portion that you just cited was about the first 25 feet of the buffer strip. So I think we're just talking about two different things here. I'm also very curious, Shane, as to why you're requesting this waiver. So tell me about like what's going on that this particular issue is something you're asking a waiver for.
I'm not opposed to having visual barriers, but I don't want to have a plan. That's pretty much what it amounts to. And I know you're allowed to have the buffer strips, but the second part is the visual screening, which is the first 25 feet of the buffer strips.
So we're still allowed to have the buffer strip. But it appears that as this, as the state statute, my understanding of the state statute is that we can't impose screening requirements that we don't impose on other residential developments in that first 25 feet. My thought on that is, number one, we do require screening for conservation subdivisions. And the reason that we do that is we're compacting houses closer together. We're trying to prevent these houses from impacting the unique characteristics of the town of Pownell. And so that becomes important, and that is a residential development, and so is a mobile home park.
As
So that's important. It's true we haven't imposed it yet, specifically screening, but we have imposed buffer strips up to this point. So we do have in the ordinances provisions for screening for residential developments. The other thing that I wanted to talk to the board about, and I'll be interested to get everybody's view on this, is Shane is right. This supersedes, as it stands, this would supersede our, my understanding. This would supersede the ordinance requirement as it's written. However, potentially, but we do require for other residential developments being conservation subdivisions. But if we go back to the subdivision, the minor subdivision ordinance, there is a provision in the ordinance where the development can't have a negative impact on the aesthetics of an area. And so while that's entirely subjective, and this is why I want to get the board's view on this, we're talking about a piece of land that is currently a field, an open field, and we're talking about dropping 4 mobile homes tightly compacted into the middle of the field. And certainly that's going to have a visual effect on a road that's well traveled through the center of Pownell. So from that aspect, and if you consider the comprehensive plan, I could see justification for requiring the screening based on the minor subdivision ordinance. as it's written. That's a thought that I have.
I just wanted to add another element to that, and that is, and because I am in agreement with what you're saying, Todd. I also noticed in the driveway permit, they're saying property owner will keep trees, brush, limbs, and vegetation trimmed, looking in both directions, and so on. But you were talking about sight distance, so that's another important element of this, because we've seen the fire chief's thoughts on the traffic coming back and forth. And so whatever we do require, I think we also have to think about being able to see traffic coming both ways.
I think this is a difficult question to answer now too, because when we look at all the documents, the layout of the park has shifted dramatically in the couple of maps, and from being kind of go in and turn left up the hill to now you go in and there's houses on either side. So it's hard to talk about buffers because I think we're also going to be looking at a slope. But again, it's hard to think about the rules. And I just want to make sure buffer strips are in the mobile home ordinance. So wouldn't that supersede the subdivision? Are we looking at both? But if it's explicitly in mobile home,
Say that again.
buffer strips are explicitly in the mobile home ordinance.
Right.
Yeah, I know in the state it says other residential areas, but we do have it in the conservation is what you're saying.
You,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
That's my
Yeah.
point. Is
yeah.
that this is not my understanding of the state statute that Shane referenced is that the state's trying to not bias planning boards and ordinances against mobile home parks. And so they don't want to see you require all of these things that you wouldn't require otherwise. And I would argue that we still do require it. We just haven't had a conservation subdivision before us yet. But we have had a minor subdivision before us that we did require buffering, but not screening because it was already treed.
Do you know which subdivision that was?
One right on Merrill Road.
Not, I can't remember where Merrill Road is.
Merrill Road going to Freeport.
Oh,
Right over
yeah,
here.
the other half of Hunter Road.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had buffer strips in that subdivision.
In the site plan, or was that a
Certainly was.
major or was that a
It
minor?
was minor.
Okay, so the natural screening though counted as
Right.
visual?
Right.
So that means that the natural screening alongside a road should count as visual.
There's,
So the only thing that I would need is the buffer strip between mine and Pat and Nancy's property.
well, they had a buffer strip, they had buffering all the way around the property.
But you can't require it along the power lines because it's not a residential piece of property.
Yeah. So that would kind of get back to my point for, let's talk about why we are thinking about this in the first place. It's not to make your life more difficult. It's to try and address the aesthetic problem with this potential development. And so what we're talking about is trying to, if this goes forward, how can we try and help to maintain some of the character of the town? And I would appreciate, we're not fighting with you to demand that you make these changes, but I think you need to ultimately consider what you're doing in the town and the impact that it has on the town. It's your land. We do have ordinances that we follow, but it shouldn't be this push and shove, like I'm doing this, you're doing that, I'm doing this. I would appreciate more if these are the concerns that the planning board has based on the ordinances. And how can we come to terms with what it says in the ordinances and what you're planning on doing that may provide something that might be okay with the town in general. So that's just another way to look at it.
Okay. Yeah, because I did call, Estabrooks, and then whatever trees they're planting around the property. I did get a quote on 2 of those, and I thought about doing double rows, just offset like every 5 feet.
Right. Right.
So,
But I don't think it would be, again, and this is for us, the planning board, to decide is what we think about this requirement of having a landscape plan and a screening strip within the first 25 feet of the property.
I'm kind of in agreement, I think, with what was said, that this seems to be consistent with the ordinances to have a visual barrier of what's in the ordinance, and this is a denser building area than is typical. And so in denser areas like conservation subdivisions where we ask for some kind of plan, and as Marcia said, you have concerns about both visibility from the road of traffic when you're coming out, and as well as for safety reasons. And then there's the aesthetics reasons that Todd brought up. And from what I understand, this is not necessarily an overly burdensome thing, just to say, consult with somebody and say, as Shane said already, like, I was thinking of doing X, Y, and Z. And so if you kind of formalize that and say who you have talked to, and some of the people who have put together some of the other documents here, might not be too hard to just say, this is our intention in order to provide some landscaping that appeals aesthetically to the town, as well as at the same time does not obstruct views of the road for people coming in and out.
Yes, Marcia.
I know it's burdensome to have a plan, but unless it's on a plan, it can't be checked by the CEO to make sure it's in compliance. So I don't think it would be too difficult for Estabrooks to sketch something out for you. And I know Tom, in his wisdom, had wanted a landscape architect to do the plan. But I think that might be, we can scale that back a little, but at least have some drawing with plants on it and how you're going to plant it.
I know there is a row of trees on one of the maps.
Well, with the point of this conversation, you're asking us to waive the need for visual screening.
Right, and I still would like to move forward with that, even though that discussion.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because there's almost physically no way to screen this.
Yeah.
Because of the slope, because of the angles and the hills. Like, you're gonna have a row of 2 to 4 foot trees, and they're gonna look out of place for 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's gonna look, I think, more tacky to have like all the same row of trees and visual screening and not have it fit in with everything around it.
When we ask for a plan, we aren't saying specifically what has to be in the plan.
Right.
You could raise those points in the plan and say, we considered X, Y, and Z, and that's why our plan is to do A, B, and C. And so judging what is the content of the plan is a later step. We're just we want to see that you have all the pieces, and then later we will judge if the pieces actually fit their criteria. But, as I've said previously, the idea of having some piece of paper submitted that is labeled your, plan for this aspect does not seem overly onerous to me personally.
Right. And where you feel the need to put screening or not put screening, that's up to you to submit that. think we could probably go ahead and take a vote on this unless anybody else had any other comments. So, based on this, I move that we deny the waiver to not require visual screening in the buffer strips. John, do I have to read? I don't have to read that whole. It's accurate. 4. I have 4.
Yeah, because the previous waivers. Yeah, it was. It was originally 4 and then we changed it to 2.
Well, is it 2 or 4? I've got 4, but I don't know when in the process this kind of.
This is the applications to.
Okay.
How many waivers do you show in your books? Okay, 1, okay. There's
Yeah.
a couple of the books were amended this afternoon, I believe, to show additional waivers.
We were in paper packets and then put them in the books to make it easier to.
We really need to make sure that all of this stuff is accurate. So I'm not gonna use the waiver number.
Mhm.
I'm gonna use what the waiver says so that there's no mistake in what it is that we're talking about. I move that the waiver to not require visual screening in the buffer strips is denied.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, so that will go on the list. And then I think you talked to Ben earlier about some of the groundwater issues, and it sounds like some of it was clarified, and there's a couple items that still.
Yeah, so there's a discrepancy because in the first North Star planning review, it said that it wouldn't produce. Let me find it. So if you go to the June 11th one from Sam Pikes or Peaks. It says on page. I probably should have highlighted this. Findings of facts, water and air pollution. It says that the amended subdivision will not result in water and or air pollution. And then what's missing from the plan now that E and F is part of water and air pollution.
So what we're really looking for and what is not in here, and this is a requirement from the mobile home subdivision, is especially considering that you have a single site, and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, on this. But because you have an offsite leach field, the requirement is to ensure that that doesn't cause pollution with nitrates and nitrogen. And so we just need to see that evaluated, and that's part of the groundwater stuff, and that's what our requirement was from the last, regardless of what Sam said in her memo.
Okay.
That was on the list of items on the checklist that we gave to you the last time, was all of that stuff.
Right. Yeah, and that one must have got missed on the.
Yeah, so that would have fallen under the bullet point 3 on the outstanding submission requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I read the ordinance. Not a ordinance. It says impacts on a well. Or wells within 1,000 feet, but there's no well yet, so it's the impacts on the proposed well. This is looking at.
My understanding, and again, I could be misunderstanding, is that it's not only the wells locally on the property, but it's wells in general in the area. Is kind of the way I'm reading that. And I think Ben in his most recent memo, he does cite that.
Right.
So I'm gonna go with Ben's most recent, and that was on the checklist as well.
Yeah, and the checklist was a little confusing because it flip-flopped back and forth. Cause like one part of it, it had to do with on-site leach fields and septic systems, and the other part was off-site. Cause if you look at the 904 B2C, it's opposite of what the 604 A1 is.
Say that again.
On the checklist, the 904 B2C.
Which, okay,
Um,
yep, yeah,
If you look at both of those, they like flip flop. They're two completely different things.
For a high intensity soil survey. Down to an acre of an acre, which I don't believe we have. But that is, but I'm not sure that's necessary for an offsite septic system. But it's, you're right, it's different than the nitrogen analysis.
Yeah, which is basically just a nitrogen plume to make sure that it won't leach into somebody's well.
right.
And because of when I talked to the engineers today, they said it goes like 150 feet outside of the leach field in a circle, or it can go on a oval or whatever shape it is.
Whichever is shorter, which would mean the well that you're planning to drill. The well that's of concern.
That one's, I think it's close to 900 feet away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't have to look, if, the way I read this, you don't have to look at the other wells, just whatever is the closest.
right.
And it's within boundary too. Yeah.
Closer than.
Yeah. And it's within home.
Oh, yeah, so if you are, if you were planning, I mean, that's, if you're looking at 904 B2C, that would be for on-site. And then the other one would be for off-site.
Yeah,
So if you're not doing on-site, then that portion wouldn't be required, you're right.
right. Yeah, that's where I got a little confused
Right.
with it.
So I think, going through, Ben's, submission requirements. He has, 604A1 E and F. And then, I think you wrote it down wrong. I think the correct requirement is 806B5, and that would be the landscaping requirement. Correct on that.
I think it's corrected in the updated one. Oh yeah, 807 B 1 to 3, or is that?
He was at the water table, which is on the plan, but it's in the test.
Yeah,
And D is the water quality, which we had as well.
Yeah.
So that is the nitrogen analysis. And F the location, the disposal system. We have the wells on the plan. just there was some disagreement between one of the applications and the location of the septic and some plans. You know,
Yeah.
That's the landscape. Five. Five. Yeah, that's so 806B5 would be the landscape plan. Uh, the other thing I wanted to point out as I was reviewing the actual application itself, and I think you'll probably want to clarify this. A couple of items are relatively minor. Under property information, number one, is any portion of the property in a FEMA special flood hazard zone? And you mark no when it's actually yes.
Yeah, that was, I think I submitted that back in like January, and that was before we realized it wasn't the FEMA.
Yeah. The other item is number 10. Indicate the nature of any restrictive covenants or easements in the existing deeds, and the line's left blank. When in reality, I believe that it should say that there are none or it's not applicable.
Okay,
Along those lines,
yeah, because we're gonna add in the septic easement,
right?
so that'll be part of the deed restrictions at some point.
Well, I think this is referring to the current, like as it stands right now. Is there any restrictions on that? And one thing I wanted to ask the board for thoughts on is it was part of the Gardner subdivision. And do we know if there were any restrictions, covenants, easements associated with that subdivision? And is it important to find that out? I think it would. Because it was part of a previous subdivision, it was probably just to divide some lots, but if there is an easement in that subdivision, that might be something worth knowing.
So I did go down in the vault and look up the subdivisions, and it's actually part of two subdivisions. The first subdivision was called the Mitchell subdivision. And the Mitchell subdivision subdivided land on two sides of the Allen. So on the opposite side of the Allen Shanes project was the other subdivision, the Gardner subdivision. So Mitchell sold the land to Gardner, and Gardner subdivided that piece. So I think in actuality, it probably ought to go back to the Mitchell subdivision, being that there was a road dividing the two. So that's, I don't know if it matters at all, but,
Okay.
and as far as the deed restrictions, I didn't go through it thoroughly enough to find them.
Okay.
I will.
Okay. There was one other important item that I think you would want to clarify. There's a question under project information. Is the proposed subdivision in keeping with the town's comprehensive plan? And you checked no.
So the issue with that, if you look at the comprehensive plan, I think 3 people or 4 people in the town voted in favor of mobile homes. I'm not really sure how to go about that.
And I'm not sure either, to be honest. Again, I'd be interested in the board's comments. This kind of fits in with our previous conversations in that if you feel that this is falling outside the comprehensive plan, what are you going to do in order to get it to fall into the comprehensive plan? And that's kind of on you.
Right,
And that's, we're trying to help you to see that by requiring some of these things that we're requiring.
right.
So
And I know that like the town does need affordable housing and elderly housing, and this fits in the part of that. But I didn't want to try and like shove this underneath that category when they are mobile homes. Then, because a lot of people just change the name of something and try to rebrand it or call it something else. That's kind of how I came up with that.
yeah,
If memory serves me, there was some, the comprehensive plan didn't exactly agree with some of the surveys, like there was a need for affordable housing. People didn't want cluster housing and they didn't want mobile homes. So I think,
That pushes it out because you can't have affordable housing without either of them.
cluster housing,
Yeah.
right. And so I think it could be agreed that there's a need for affordable housing in the state. And by using the aesthetics argument, that you're making it aesthetically pleasing to the town and offering something that seems, and you sent us pictures. I mean, these don't look like your trailer park, that's what people think of when they mobile.
Right, yeah, they think of the old like tin trailers.
Right.
It's like everybody I've ran into basically brought those up.
Hmm.
And they haven't been around since like the 70s, but they left an image, I guess.
Right, so even a statement that says, between the aesthetics that you're considering and the fact that these are very much close to being what you would call manufactured housing that's in line with rural character.
Right,
yeah, so, I would, given that conversation, I'd be thinking about how all of those things would play a role in your ultimate plan, because part of what we do is based on the comprehensive plan. And so any development that's like in the ordinance, it needs to fit in with the comprehensive plan in one way or another.
okay,
So, that's kind of like this back and forth. We're really just trying, if this is gonna go through, it's gotta fit in with what the town sees as the comprehensive plan.
okay.
So,
Are you guys all right with me changing the application before next meeting?
I think I would,
Okay,
because, as it stands, that's grounds for us to deny the application because it doesn't fit with the comprehensive plan,
okay,
in my view. And so you need to make it fit with the comprehensive plan. And I think that would be your job.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I would resubmit this application with the corrections that we just talked about. And then I'm terrible about keeping track of paper. And I've got so many little bits here and there. I do not know what's what. So can we just start clean? And can we get everything submitted in one single folder that has all the corrected stuff with dates, so that we know when we open up an item that it's from now moving forward. And that way there's no confusion about waiver 4, waiver 2, and we can see clearly this is dated August, whatever. And to me, I think that would be hugely helpful, given the amount of paper that's involved in this project, to have it a little bit more organized.
Would we be okay with handwriting the date and the page number on the bottom, or,
It should be on the document itself.
yeah,
I would suggest that it's also in the file name of the
Okay.
document if it's gonna be a scanned item. It should be in both,
okay.
I would think.
So I would
That's,
echo that. I think it's real important to get some of this old presented stuff out of here so we're not confusing ourselves. I think tonight we've already confused ourselves a couple of
Yeah,
times
right.
with some old information and new information, the modular homes versus the manufactured homes. So, the new plan, he's got manufactured homes, and the old plan, he had pictures of modular homes. So we're talking two different things. So we need to get everything, what you want to present is what we'll see in front of us.
okay.
Yeah, I think that would be good for next time, so we can kind of keep, archive what we have. But I think I'd like to start fresh. New application. The application is it will still go by the submission date of that. We're not changing the submission date of the application. We just want it cleaned up.
How are we doing with the deadline?
I was gonna ask Marcia that as well, where we stand.
Because I think this was submitted in January.
No, we didn't start the clock until,
Because we never deemed it complete.
I feel like we started there's a point where the application was submitted and that when we accepted that application,
Well, the application was first submitted in February 26th and then resubmitted June 25th.
right? And is that the meeting that's the meeting where we took over from Tom? And
Gave them a new checklist.
gave him a new checklist. But I don't recall where we were clockwise. We'll look into that because that was one of the questions I had and I couldn't find an answer. We need to know. We can look back in the minutes.
Yeah, I see March 26th.
It was,
Yeah, because that's when we got the original checklist.
Four unit mobile home.
That's when we got the original checklist from Tom. And then when we swapped from Tom,
but was that the March meeting?
yeah,
That was the March meeting that we did that?
Do we offer an extension though in June or something?
unless we restarted the clock, because it was all new people, or is that?
I thought we
No,
had a
I think
discussion
I
about.
think the discussion was that if that we would offer an extension because we were kind of changing things, but that extension wouldn't apply to new waivers. So for example, tonight with a new waiver that wasn't submitted previously, if that piece isn't done by the deadline, then that's kind of on you. But these other pieces, we would be willing to consider an extension.
No, if everything's submitted before next meeting, but then you guys don't vote on it or do the public hearing, is that on me or is that on you guys?
So the next meeting, if the application is complete, we'll vote on the application being complete, and then you could submit a final plan. Along those same lines, I was to try and be efficient. I'm considering scheduling a site walk so that we could get that done and out of the way and not pushing that off for another month. I'm not sure about planning for a public hearing,
We have to.
complete application first, so we could plan on the public hearing after next time. So, so it would have been, it would be 6 months from February.
March, so it'd be next month's meeting. Get you guys accepting it at the March meeting.
It was initially submitted in the February meeting.
Yeah, that. Can I see those notes? Bear with us.
Yeah, 'cause I think the date on the application was, yeah, but there was too many unknowns, and then I think Tom made the checklist. And then I think the March one was when you guys accepted the application.
Why don't we do this? We'll go through the, like I said, that's actually one of the questions I needed answered tonight because I wanted to make sure that we were all aware of the deadline. And I'm not sure. So, we'll go through the minutes and.
Tom was saying when the end date of 6 months falls sometime in September.
Yeah, okay. And that's what meeting is that? That's,
March 26th week.
So
yeah.
third Saturday of every month, Wednesday of every month.
Yeah.
That's when so you'll be meeting September 17th.
Okay. And so that would be when the 6 months is up for completion of the application. Or is that for final plan? It's,
And then we have 45 days after that to approve.
that's the final plan.
Yeah,
I want to see if there's, the mobile home subdivision's ordinance is gonna take precedent over that, but I don't
think there's a deadline.
think
requirement.
there's a deadline.
I'm looking at an email from Tom and it says the 6 month window is for the final plan submittal.
Yeah,
But that the applicant can ask for an extension.
Yeah, I know the only thing that held me up was the driveway entrance getting changed. Cause I know there was a few concerns from the town, so it slowed the state down like 3 or 4 weeks.
do you want to request an extension?
Do you guys think that I need one?
Uh,
I should have everything completed next week from the engineers.
so, we haven't, we don't even have a completed application yet. So, if you, you can't submit a final application until we have a completed application, which we do not have. And we haven't even spent any time actually talking about the application for you to make any adjustments on a final plan. Because while we're gathering information here, I haven't even talked to you about any questions about the documents that you've submitted. None of us have, and we all have questions. It was just a letter from the fire chief today. I don't know if you saw that yet.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of questions that we actually have about the proposal. It's not just submit the application and you're ready to go. It's submit the application. Is the application any good? Is the project, does it meet the ordinance requirements? We haven't talked about any of that yet. So that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
So you'd probably want to request
John.
an extension.
Okay. Thank you. So if we, thank you for that, John. So if we get together next month and we deem the application complete, then Mr. Brady can request an extension at that time. Has to be complete first. That's fair. Okay.
What date is?
Of all of the documents that we're looking for.
Yeah, because it should be just a landscape plan and then nitrogen.
Yep.
I have a couple other questions.
Yep, shoot.
So I was going through a little, just part of it is because I don't necessarily understand. I didn't understand why North Star thought that building plans were NA. And I know you have like a schematic or a foundation plan and I was looking for input from the CEO. What is it, what constitutes a building plan? It does schematic, so that.
So in the latest submission, there is a plan for slabs, correct? So that in fact is, kind of the first, and he also has plans for the modulars in, so it's actually, it's complete.
The only thing that I can think with North Star is that'd be part of the building permit. Even though it's in the site plan, it's not really anywhere else. But it does help out code enforcement to know what it is before it gets there.
My other question was, I was looking at the, groundwater conveyance plans, and I think we're supposed to have, show, there's a retention pond, and then the plans show the flow, but is there a drainage ditch or something? I really wasn't sure if everything is on the plan that is involved with the flow of the surface water.
Yeah, so if you're looking,
What I meant, surface water.
if you're looking at that, it's basically just gonna follow the natural line of the hill down. Cause that one's, it's got the light gray, which is the existing, and then the dark gray is the new.
So there-
Not dark gray, the black.
there's no ditch or anything, it's just,
No, it's just all gonna naturally flow down into the retention pond and then it'll go in that culvert and then dissipate.
so are you building this all up like 20 feet on this side so that you have the retention pond, or I was
Doesn't-
supposed to see how much slope there is here on the east-west side of the,
Let me pull down.
See ya. One thing the way I was kind of looking at this, I have all those questions too, for sure. But what I was thinking is once the application is complete, then we can dive into the weeds on what the actual submissions
I
are.
wanted to know about the is the drain, are any other conveyances on the plan, and they aren't, so that answers.
Oh, okay, okay, got it.
I ventured into the weeds and now I'm out. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And then I'm asking Tim, there's the cut and fill operations is what's in the MDOT driveway permit that fulfills the cut and fill? Or do we have a plan of cut and fill that it meets this requirement?
I think again, that's something we'll have to go over when we're reviewing the plan, not the submission.
Well, I mean, it has to be part of the submission is what I'm saying. And I don't think we have that yet.
The cut and fill for.
So it says the copies of cut and fill operations on site with road and driveway profiles, minutes of planning board dated March 26th.
That is plan that you just looked at.
That's it. Okay, all right, okay. Let me just make one more check. And I also didn't see and usually you don't see at this point, the erosion sedimentation control plan, North Star checked off. I think
That is not in.
Yeah, so that will be, it's a standard thing.
Yeah, so it doesn't fall underneath the chapter 500 or something. North Star made a little memo about it. Just the best practices have to be followed, and that's what the silt fence is down along the bottom property line. And I know like when you get too close to water or the ocean, they have to do a double silt fence.
Chunk of work is there, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that, I think, answers my questions of what is and isn't in the application and needs to be. Thank you.
Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to add?
Yeah, I got some comments here. So Tim and I review, previous planning board decisions and, subdivision approvals just to see, what happened in the past. And in the future, people do the same thing. So the package has to be as accurate as possible. We've got a few different submissions, they're all a little bit different. The next submission has to be what you really want. And for example, the letters say that there'll be a 4-unit mobile home park with separate septics systems and a dug well. And that is, as that's your project description. That's in your project description on all of these. But I don't think that's what you want, right? That conflicts with the diagrams. It also says that the project will have underground electric utilities, but the plans describe poles. There's just many things that conflict. So the next package has to be what you really want, not a mixture of what you wanted 6 months ago. It's got to be accurate.
I agree 100%.
So with regards to the power lines they are gonna be overhead until they get to the pole by the house, and then they go underground under the slab. So it's a mix of both, I guess.
Okay.
I just
Make it clear on the plans.
yeah. And then,
And also, for example, in many places on the diagrams and many of the documents show Joyce Brady as the owner, but the owner is Joyce and Jessica, correct?
Joyce is the primary. So,
But she's on the deed, Jessica.
yeah,
Anyway, I'm not a lawyer, but
An extra agency. letter
Yeah.
From,
yeah, I added that just because it was recommended by the code enforcement and planner.
Okay.
But you don't have to come here again and say the application's incomplete. So do everything you can to make sure it's complete and accurate.
Agree, 100%.
so is the applicant, who is the applicant? You're the applicant,
I'm the applicant and I rented it off.
the two owners.
Yeah,
They both signed that.
yeah. And I know the driveway entrance permit, the state has a copy of the deeds, but they only issued the permit to my mom, which was Joyce. So I don't think that's a big issue. Because if the state would have issued it in one name, then it's kind of
I think, again, I agree with Bill. It needs to be as clean as possible so we can get this through. So I think it's in your best interest to make everything as accurate as possible. So,
For example, some of these documents will be reviewed by the lawyer and they might say it has to be in her name. We aren't lawyers, so we don't know, but I'd make it as accurate as possible.
Could that be done as a minor change or a punch list thing for the final plan, or is that needed for completion?
Go ahead, John.
very good. Sure. Your deed, clear. I don't feel anything about clear title to this property. Search or any covenants. Covenants have to be cleared by that. So you better make sure that that stuff is tied up. Okay. I just want to say one more thing. But the town really has an interest in getting this process moving or denying it. You're in danger of having to, reapplication be proposed upon. Change so much. So it's really important that you get this stuff together. Use the town resources to help you. You gotta get it together. Better impose 2003. Okay. Not too bad, I'm trying to say. Trying to echo the board's desire if you could clarify everything. Okay.
Yeah, the biggest change is because of 11% grade. 'Cause it-
You've got your direction.
Yeah.
for it. Shouldn't move right on to use this, the application.
Yep. Okay. I don't, oh, yeah.
Well, just wanted to bring up last week, last month, we had discussion about some of the road concerns and the idea that the town can request a safety audit from DOT.
Yes.
And then the other thing brought up
About
with
that.
road was also, my notes talked about, I think 5 units can be a driveway, but 6 is an entrance. And that if it's 6 units in an entrance, then it's 30 feet instead of 20 feet in width. And so those things stuck out in me as I was reading through some of the comments on roads and other pieces of, this is being proposed as a 4-unit for right now, but if there is a plan in the future to add more units, then, the applicant might want to consider that in their plan when they design their driveway, as well as just wanted to check in about the idea of town requesting a safety audit from DOT.
I think I still have to say that we don't even have a completed application yet.
Yeah.
And it's hard for us to, and we don't know if it's gonna be completed. He's gonna try. But I don't know if it makes sense to push on these items until we have something that we can actually work with. And that's my thought. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that. I think we really need to see the completed application. And then if we need to see additional items, have consultants, then that would make sense because we're actually starting with something that's complete and it's real. Right now, it's not really real. We've spent a lot of time on this already.
But I think Orion's point is if you go down one path for a 4-unit subdivision, you may be not able to then create a 14-unit subdivision. You go down a certain path. So I think that's why the application needs to be clear.
Yeah, for sure.
And because if you end up not having enough room for the driveway, the entrance for a 14-unit subdivision, then you would have to go back to the drawing board, I guess.
I know there was a issue with that when I was talking to Maine DOT about it. And with doing the stormwater runoff and the site plan and everything else, that's the required documents. They need to turn it into a road instead of a driveway. And that's why they bumped it to 14 instead of 4. So it already meets the current standards and safety guidelines for a road entrance. And it's permitted as a driveway, but it's all set for a road if it ever gets expanded in the future.
John, can I ask you a question? Sure. At this stage, again, we had started to chat about it. The application isn't complete. Would it be appropriate to plan for a site visit, or do we really need to? Yeah, okay, fair. Yeah, fair. That was kind of my thought. Okay, thank you.
With the few minor pieces missing, which.
Shane, you need to complete an application.
Yeah.
No way around it. Session, the last 20 minutes has been there for, you need to complete an application to have more conversation. So use your time wisely to get it done.
I agree, 100%. Okay. So I think we're done with that item and we'll move on to the next item. I was thinking with Brian not here, I was thinking about pushing the lot density checklist to next month. I think it's important to have him here for the next item is a draft road safety assessment checklist. Actually, before we dive into that, sorry, guys, did we tortured you long enough? Any comments? I don't want to torture you anymore. Comments from the public?
Try to make it brief. Russ Allen, 939 Elmwood Road, directly across from the field. Yeah, the big thing here, I guess, is still there's no sense saying too much because what I keep hearing is the application isn't complete. So I don't know how the process has even started without a complete application. This newest drawing, Shane brought me one. You know, you can wait to an on-site, but I live on the property and it ain't even drawn right. My driveway's not in the right place. The pole on my side's not in the right place. I don't know if the footages on his property are right, but where it's showing a pin, there's no pin. And I can go on and on, but maybe that's later too. So my well is probably within 70 feet of the boundary of that property. I'd love to have, I'd rather have the town do it than Shane. And Pat Malone's is his is under 200 feet also. And yet they're not even shown on this plan here. I know Pat, I've talked to him. He has arsenic and uranium. That Mary Sudine, I've talked to her, she does. I know mine was high in salt last time I ever did it. And my flow's not good. But anyway, they're not even shown on the plan. I'm trying to see a deed show up that describes that whole thing. I keep seeing the piece he got from Pat and Nancy Malone, but I would want to see the description of the whole 3 point whatever acres. And I haven't seen one. I don't know if it's here and I haven't got a copy of it or, so there's that fact. And then as far as whoever owns it, you know, Shane's representing, I would like to see them signatures notarized. I just don't like, I look at signatures and I'm seeing two different signatures, and I'm not a signature expert. But if we get them notarized, no more argument about, who owns the property or whatever, but all the paperwork you're getting is signed by his mother, his sister who's in Florida, but nothing's notarized, and I think maybe they ought to be notarized. So I want to thank you very much for what you're, trying to get this mobile home park right. Because we know it's getting better, and I don't know why we're calling them modulars, because they're not modulars. They're mobile homes with wheels and axles, and they will be there with wheels and axles. That's what's on this plan. The modular's gone, so we're talking mobile homes, which this is a mobile home park, so that's all good. Okay,
Thanks, Russ.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. We'll move on to the boring stuff. Oh, yeah.
So I guess I tend to think of a surveyor or signing a plan as being fact.
Yes,
So
I would agree.
so I don't know what to do with that.
But I always think about things that the only person looking out for you is you. And I think Russ's point is well taken, in that just because we see the thing come across our desk doesn't necessarily mean that we should trust it completely. I don't know how to read deeds. That is not my gig, for sure. Go ahead, Brett.
I was just gonna say, I was a notary for a number of years in my work. Excuse me. If I didn't stamp it, it didn't happen.
And I don't know, I think that that's actually a really good point too, to be honest, to have things notarized. I don't know that we've had that requirement before, but maybe going forward, that might not be a bad idea, especially when we're talking about permission to build on a piece of property that isn't owned by the individual that's actually building the thing on the property. I don't know that we can do anything about that right now, but I think maybe moving forward, that would probably be a really good idea. I don't know if we can have Shane do that right now.
I'm just thinking about permits I've seen come across my desk, and I haven't seen notarized signatures. Not that it isn't a good idea.
Yeah. That's something to definitely think about.
The new authorized agent letter that is on the Pownell website right now does require everything to be notarized.
Okay.
And I suspect that Shane would be open to having everything notarized. He had mentioned it before.
Okay.
So I could tell him.
I guess that would be, I can't make him, I don't think, because he just left. I don't, and that hasn't been a requirement of ours up to this point, so I don't feel that we could make him do that as part of the submission. But if he could do it or would do it, I think that would be
Yep, I'll check.
good.
I suspect that it probably is a requirement, just that we haven't been doing it, but
Yeah.
I would think that these things would be a legal requirement. I know when I built my house, Ginny, she insisted that I'm building a ADU on my own property. I had to have, she required me to notarize it. And she knows all the laws really well, but either way, I'll point it to him, and I think he'll be receptive to having those notarized.
Okay. Okay. Draft road. We were just chatting about, perhaps getting, the note of authorization notarized. Yeah, would that be, could you do that for us? All right, I'd appreciate that very much.
Do you want this manual authorization letter? Yes, the new form is on the website.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you.
Okay, draft road safety assessment checklist.
Yeah, I could introduce it. I wrote a little blurb about it. So, and I'll read it. The Maine DOT, the town of Powell, use site distance as an initial measure when determining if driveway or road entrance should be permitted. For example, a road with a speed limit of 40 miles an hour would be 360 feet stopping distance. In some cases, those distances may not enough, such as if there are rolling hills, steep grades, higher traffic, excessive speed, snowy conditions, or higher pedestrian bike. Those cases, the town can require the developer to conduct a road safety assessment to determine if a location is acceptable for an entrance or development. This draft road safety assessment that you had, a combination of information from federal highway safety audit guidelines, the Maine DOT safety resources, National Safety Council, and National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Maine DOT can conduct a road safety assessment, but Maine DOT says that they are not resourced to conduct our road safety assessments, and that is the developer. I think you all have a draft.
I didn't see
I
one.
did somewhere, set it out, ready for content.
Okay, yeah, I didn't, that's what I was just looking for because I didn't.
Is
I
that
don't
the
recall that.
safety audit we were discussing last
Yes.
time? Okay, so their DOT is saying they don't have the
So,
resources, so.
It's confusing the assessment.
which, yeah,
We have the,
yeah, sometimes they use this word interchangeably, but it looks like it's called this. According to Maine DOT.
this out last time.
Is that the Maine DOT? Oh, yeah, that could have been, I'm not sure if that's.
Anyway.
I could print one or more copies of it right now.
I'll send out the assessment.
Yeah, that'd be great. I appreciate that.
So you're gonna send that out?
Yeah.
Yeah, so moving right along, the CEO update. Do you guys have anything you wanted to chat about?
With what he just discussed, so that's.
Sorry.
If we were going to ask for a road safety assessment, we wouldn't necessarily ask it until after we get a completed application, not prior to getting a completed application.
That's what I would say.
Okay.
So we did receive another subdivision request for you. Probably, it's a simple one, so I'm expecting you probably have it for your next meeting. It is it's a subdivision of, what was there, 3 lots, and they want to split one more off. So, and it looks pretty easy. There's not enough road frontage, so there will be a road involved. But a surveyor did bring in a plan today. So he thinks he'll have everything ready for the deadline for the next meeting.
Okay.
And other than that, I do have an example of ordinance suggested changes that I've been working on, and this is just a few of them. Sure.
Deadline for new business today.
For the next meeting?
Yeah. For
For new business.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's not gonna make it. So it'll be October. I'll have to break that to him.
We have some flexibility sometimes. We do. Only if we don't have anything else on the agenda.
Yeah, maybe.
So these are just a few things that I've jotted down over time. I've got more, but I don't have them really refined yet. And, these aren't cast in stone. So this is just kind of the things that I noticed. Bill actually brought it up to me that, he questioned whether we need 300 feet of continuous frontage because it actually does not say so in the ordinance anywhere. But it's always been, the policy or the practice, I guess you'd call it. So I'm recommending that we call that contiguous instead of just taking it as policy.
That's a good addition.
So on mobile home and mobile home parks, we don't have a lot of criteria for aesthetics. The state does allow some things. They allow you to have pitched roofs and residential like siding and some foundations and stuff like that. So I think that's something we ought to be thinking about adding into the ordinance, because now that the state has mandated that we allow trailers wherever a single family home can fit, we're gonna get more of that coming forward. So, accessory dwellings, the state has changed our rules again. And basically, we have time to change this, but I think in the next town meeting is the time to change it, is you cannot, we cannot require that the owner live in one of the dwellings. So that has to be taken out. And also I noticed when I was reviewing it, it doesn't specify that all the dwelling units must remain in the same ownership. So in other words, somebody could sell a building without it, with it being on somebody else's land, like a condo or something like that. So I think if we want to avoid things like that, we need to put it in the ordinance that we spell it out. It has to be in the same ownership. And under site plan review, what did I put in there? So the main thing I was after is to remove sand and gravels from, not being applicable. I think that, I don't know why we would leave sand and gravel pits out of site plan review.
Well, I have a question about even the normal agriculture and what that entails, as we had a whole thing about the giant greenhouse being normal agriculture, and some people may not have felt that it was normal agriculture, that it was a giant structure that should, have some review.
So, yeah, and I mean, that's why I'm bringing this up is I'd like to have, at some point, have workshops or discussions on this. And, I'll come up with more. But, and then before too long, I'd like to have workshops and discuss all this with everybody so we can get everybody's.
That's a good idea. I did notice one item while I was going through the list, if you wanted to add it to your list. It's section 901A. It appears to me that 13 is running into 14. It's like the first sentence of 14 should be the last sentence in 13. But otherwise, it looks like 14 stands alone. So it's not like we need to go and change all the numbers. I think 14 is supposed to be there. It's just as just a little run on. Yeah.
There are a lot of clerical errors throughout the whole ordinance. You kind of skim over those. I skim over those just to get to what I feel is the important meat.
Yeah, right.
So I agree. I will look at that. And if there's anything else that anybody, else has come up with, then just shoot me an email and I'll look at it, see if I can come up with some language or
So we should consider maybe doing a workshop at some point to give us plenty of time to put things together for June meeting next year.
For the town meeting next
town meeting.
What we did last year was really kind of last minute.
Right.
We should have had, we should take a lot more time than that. So,
Right.
You know, if we start working in September, October on this, you know,
Yeah.
maybe put it in the agenda for 15 minutes.
And we can do that, like, if you want to really, if there's something that you really want to spend some time on and just do it in smaller bits, we can definitely make the time to make sure that that happens. And we can add it to the agenda in such a way that everybody has the information ahead of time. And then we can sit down and have a real conversation. Or the other option would be to just knock it out in a workshop like you were talking about, and then plan a public hearing. We would need a public hearing.
They were March.
Yeah.
Right.
They have to be in advance. There was some more which comes out.
Yeah. So I'm totally open to either way.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of, if you have enough for a 20-minute, 15-minute section and you want to just kind of do it little bits at a time. We
I
can
think I'd
maybe do that.
prefer to do it that way. That way, if something else comes up, we don't
Right.
have to workshop again and again and again.
Right. And then what we could do is, as we're getting closer to town meeting, we could then, as we're getting things resolved, we could plan on a public hearing.
Yep.
And get the select board involved and all that.
Tandem with the warrant meeting, so it worked out really well. There was just one.
Yep.
session.
John, I assume you don't have an issue with us going through and making those changes? Okay. When do we need to get the select board involved? Okay. So we'll keep you posted.
Just to get it in the minutes, I think it's an awesome idea. And I think we had specifically talked about when we moved away from the major subdivision, we may have lost some references that we need to go back and make sure are explicit in the conservation subdivision. So I think that might be another area where if these are 20 minutes, that might be something, especially as we're reviewing lot density, we just need to be really explicit in that section of the ordinance. Yeah, because it's been a lot of back and forth.
And, you know, I don't want to own this. I think that if other people want to come up with some things as well, we can discuss at the same time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Question about what we mentioned, somebody with a minor subdivision, 3 to 4 lots, and that, but like you mentioned there might be an issue with road frontage, and I'm thinking, you know, that could be more complicated. And if we're not saying September, and then we do see them in October, and then we have more questions, and then that moves on to November, like, if it's possible, like in the next week that they can get us something to look at, maybe we can put them on the agenda for September, just to expedite the process and not leave them hanging for an extended period of time.
So the sketch, they've already brought in a sketch, and the sketch has, it's the surveyor that's done the other divisions as well, so he's very familiar with the property. Right now, it needs a road because it's only got 69 feet of frontage. So the road is not drawn on there, but it's a preliminary sketch to bring to you. And then, you know, I don't know if it's up to you or if it's up to him to draw the road after he's going to draw the road, but after your input on where that road should be, how long it has to be, and where he's getting his frontage from and things like that. So they know they have to put a road in. The road's just not drawn on the sketch yet. So I don't know if you want that drawn on the sketch before, because it is the preliminary, so. I mean, to make it go faster, it might be better for them to have that drawn on first.
I would say they should put a road on, so we have something to look at. I'm not sure I want to set a precedent of, I think, I'm thinking that kind of need to, if it's not in by the deadline, it's not in by the deadline. And it's like, I don't want to be the jerk, but that's the ordinance. And they just have to wait.
The deadlines are posted on the website. It's not
Yeah, right, so. It can wait.
So just a question on that. I don't know the answer to this. Is it because it's a revised subdivision? Is that something that's still a new subdivision request? I don't know the answer to it. So, again,
I'm unsure. I think we would need to look at that.
Seems like if it's the first time coming before, it's, you know.
Yeah, I'm unsure. But I would, yeah, I would think it's essentially a new subdivision.
Okay.
Because it's been subdivided already.
Was it subdivided more than 5 years ago, or what was the?
part of it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it needs to be. I think it needs to be new.
That's all. Hey, I had. Bill, did you have anything to add?
I just, that we haven't heard anything regarding the Stetson Farm conservation subdivision.
Okay. The fee schedule, public hearing and new fee schedule.
Give a brief update on John, and I'm sure could give a much better one, but first of all, there are new impact fees published on the website. And there was a public hearing because the impact, I didn't know a lot about this, the impact fee ordinance disseminates those impact fees when an application is made. And sometimes those impact fees don't get spent because there isn't a project that falls in the right capital expense that falls in the right categories. So the plan is to have a public hearing to discuss how to better frame the impact fee ordinance so that we can be more sure of spending those impact fees in an appropriate manner. And if anybody wants to add to that? John, do you need to add anything to that? Okay, well then, never mind. Anyway, there will be a public hearing to talk about how to best.
Can I repeat that? Because John doesn't have a mic. Is
Yes.
North Star Planning is tasked with working on the impact fee ordinance to restructure it. And, once it happens, it'll go to public hearing and it'll go through the same process that any other ordinance.
But as we're looking at projects, coming up with capital expenditures that would meet the requirements of the ordinance, but also needs of the town as we see it, it would be important for us to participate
Okay.
in that public hearing.
Yeah. And that is all to be determined at this point. Okay. We already did the ordinance review on the agenda. And under communications, the board did receive a letter from David Hyde, which was read and recorded. Is there anything else that any board members wanted to bring up at this point? Anybody out there have anything left to say? Yes, John.
Community. September 17th or close to it. Meeting, there'll be held, there'll be meeting / training / potluck for all boards, town employees, will be over policies, freedom of information, sexual harassment. Everyone's gonna get together, dinner, we're gonna be choir volunteers. Much appreciated. So we get it out of the way. We haven't done it in years. So
We're-
17th, I think. And another big attraction is that the town through Freeport Community is having a Civics 101 program with your 4 classes that will be in collaboration with 5th grade of Powell Elementary School. One of those classes will be town planning board. So we're looking for excited planning board members to help us run that Civics 101 class.
I see a lot of kids sleeping during that
There will
portion
be a
of the
note.
class.
Small feet attached, your real bucks.
What, do you know the date of that?
Not yet,
Okay.
it'll be in the fall.
The 17th is
Our next meeting.
our next meeting. So that date is probably,
I'll get to Marcia.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And we will all do our best to attend.
Yeah, it's just a good idea, then nobody know, we're so lax the way we, town of the state, I'm not really collaborating very well with rules of roads.
Okay.
Did you state your name and where you live, John? Just,
Would you come to the mic?
by the way, I will be not at the September 17th meeting.
Agenda for next month.
Can I add an article for discussion?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's, and it honestly, this most recent, project has kind of sparked it. And I'm wondering if, as we're emailing as the board, if we should be making a practice to link to documents that are posted, because as your emails get just very hard to negotiate, then we're all looking at one spot. And I'm not sure if the town is in a place yet where they can do that for us. So as we're reviewing the Brady subdivision, and we have so many documents floating around our emails, I'm just wondering if we can clean up that process a little bit. And I'm not saying anything, it's just, can the town do that for us at this point? Is there a way to clean some of this up because there's so many documents?
Well, and I had asked our info person.
Yeah.
If we couldn't separate the submissions. And she said that Becky said they had to be all together. So everything is on the website.
From the is, so the
And
old
which
stuff
is
is the
not-
new stuff, yeah.
Helpful to any of us. Plus there's, they're all scanned, so they're very big. I'd be happy to,
There is like what I do, and it's easy to share. It's
Mhm.
a Google Doc or Google Drive where you can set up a folder online. And then, and if this is inappropriate, John, for us to do this, you let me know. But one workaround, rather than depending on the town, I'm kind of doing it already anyway, just to organize these. I'm creating a folder within Google Drive,
Yeah.
and it's relatively easy to share that folder. And then people can move things in and out because we'd all be kind of owners. It's online, you don't have to download the stuff to view it. But if you wanted to print it, whatever, you'd have to download it. But that's a way to keep the town out of it and make sure it's getting done. That would be an option.
we did try that with a comprehensive plan and there were a couple people who couldn't.
Right, that's the downside.
That's the
Yeah.
It's not a perfect tool
Yeah,
by any stretch.
yeah.
John?
Mercedes, can you state the problem again? So I'll talk to Jaylene, our IT person. I just need to be clear on what the problem.
Absolutely, John. So as we do our work on the board, Marcia is awesome in terms of sending us all of the documents, but then you have multiple emails. And in the latest version, we just have a lot of emails and then it's hard to see what's the most current and what is maybe a submission from, last month. So it'd be wonderful if instead of emailing these documents, there's a spot and we're responsible for going to that spot and seeing all the documents. Outdated ones are gone. And we're only looking at the documents that are current, the documents that are public for a submission. If you see Shane's Mobile Park here, and that was all emailed.
There's 2 zip drives.
Yeah.
Which certain people couldn't get because they were still too big.
Yeah, it just makes,
So are you asking,
Yeah.
Are you asking for a vehicle that would follow emails but not be part of the email? So in other words, you could email and refer to a, I don't think we use what Todd was doing,
right,
but you'd be able to go to a reference point. There would be a link in those emails to that reference point, and that reference point would be able to interact with the email.
right, like a Dropbox or a SharePoint. So there's, yeah, that would be, I think that would just clean it up for, yeah,
Should have.
SharePoint would be perfect because then because you end up Apple fighting with Google, fighting with. Microsoft.
I know.
No, that's always a
Yeah.
problem.
So
Like I said,
Thank you.
SharePoint avoids all that.
But the problem is it would need to be maintained and up to date.
Yeah,
That's always the problem.
yeah. I wonder if there's I think we just need to think of, as we get more, if we're getting a lot of subdivisions and a lot of applications, we also might just want to think about process. Do subdivisions live on the website and we're looking at the documents here, whereas other things like the ordinance review, maybe that comes in, or we just have our own page that's active business or something.
Yeah.
But it's our responsibility when we get that email and the agenda to say bump, bump, bump. But then I know that I'm looking at the same map that Bill's looking at.
Right?
It does
Yeah.
not help that we get like 2 memos, like one at 4:30 today. That's not. But it does have to be on the website so that the public see.
Right, the ones that do, yeah. Thank you. I just wanted to kind of bring it up
No, I
because I think
think
it's
it's
probably going to
It's
get
a nightmare.
more. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in South Portland, they have board docs, this program, but also like we have the calendar date for this, you can click on it and maybe you get a link to the agenda or minutes, but on that calendar invite or whatever, there's not like all the documents that we discussed today were not uploaded in an easy to find place. Like maybe on the planning board, there's a subdivision page and then some of the subdivision stuff, but like it'd be nice if it was uploaded to the subdivision page or somewhere when it's on the calendar, you have a link to those documents so the public can also look at them easily as well as the board members. One other thing with the website I noticed today, looking at the town of Pownell land use ordinance document on the website, I think was the June 2024 version. Now we have on paper the June 2025 version, but that didn't seem to be the document that's on the website.
Yeah, we looked on the website this afternoon and both are there,
Oh,
but the name on one of them needs to be fixed. After you download it, it says working copy, so something's a little funky there.
Work copy is not.
Yeah.
So.
I need to say something.
Regarding sharing documents, we do have, if you have an email address, pownell.org, we do have OneDrive where we can share documents, but I've noticed that when I share a document, the default is read write for everybody. So anybody that has the link, you have to be really careful with the documents because sometimes you don't want people editing them. And just like with Google Docs as well, sometimes anybody that has the link can read write. So you gotta be really careful on who you share the link with. But maybe the Windows administrator can set it up so that if you share something, it only shares with certain groups. SharePoint is similar to OneDrive, but it's a different animal, which is yet something else to learn. So I'm not sure if we want to go to SharePoint or not, but Jaylene can help us, I bet you.
Yeah, document management, I think is gonna be important as things move on.
Now that I know communication wise, Bill, how close are we to getting a video screen in front of the building?
Yeah, we can actually, so we did a test so that the audience could see that screen and it worked great. It's a $14 gadget that plugs into this. And so, Becky right now is looking on at purchasing, the whole thing will be, on TVs like $500 nowadays for a nice high resolution screen. So it'll mirror all the laptop, that, and then it does it really nicely.
It would be great to be able to post documents as we're going through. I think the the resource of having, I was able to watch last meeting and it's amazing, but being able to see some of the documents, it would be able to share the documents with the audience.
It'll require one power cord, that's it.
Yep.
Yep, obviously.
Okay.
I'll just say that anybody who had to watch the last meeting knows that Todd's much better at being the lead of the meeting tonight.
Appreciate that, but I don't know about that. Okay, next month, the agenda for next month, under old business will be, Mr. Brady's mobile home park, and hopefully we'll be able to complete an application. I don't believe we have any other old business aside from that. Is that correct?
Yes, not that, because there's still 2 weeks for them to get old businesses. The only project would be steps, yeah.
Okay.
Would a review of the road safety, the draft road safety assessment be considered old
Yeah,
at that point?
would be considered old.
I'd say that and the lot density, if we can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So road safety,
Depending on what else comes up.
yeah. I would like to try and get the lot density checklist done. I think that's important. New business, we don't have anything at this point. It's past the submission deadline, so we shouldn't have to worry about that.
Also a newsletter that I didn't send anything in. Because you don't have to send it for your.
Okay. Fair enough. I think that's it. I move that we adjourn the August meeting, of the town planning board. Favor. Thank you.